I read these this month. I'm theoretically reading these next month. Sometimes I just like to have something small that isn't part of a series to read in between things. Welcome to Mad on Books, where I talk about fantasy mostly, science fiction sometimes, and comics occasionally. Because I'm reading a bunch of quite big series, and each book in the series is quite big, I'm reading A Song of Ice and Fire right now. I'm reading Lazen Book of the Fallen right now, and I'm reading The Realm of the Elderlings right now. They're all series, they're all pretty chunky, and it's going to take a long time. I found myself wanting a book that you could stick in the middle, in between those, that wasn't really something that you had to continue with, wasn't part of a series, and that you could read relatively quickly. So it was under 400 pages was my kind of limit in my head. One of the advantages of being a booktuber is booktubers. And booktubers are people who love to talk about books and have read a lot and recommend books all the time. So I wrote out to a bunch of booktuber friends and said, send me a video, 1 minute, recommending one standalone science fiction or fantasy that is 400 pages or less. And quite a lot of people were happy to do that, which was great. Thank you all. I don't have any problem anymore finding a standalone. I hope that you have the same feeling after watching the video. Let's get started.
Hey, what's up, bookworms? Mike here. Matt hit me up over the weekend and wanted to know, Mike, what's a great fantasy book that isn't too big, that's a good standalone that you would recommend that people who are maybe struggling through a long series might enjoy? Well, the first thing I thought of, guys, was The Princess Bride by William Goldman, J. Morgenstern, if it were. Guys, this book is absolutely thrilling. It's about 320 pages. It's not going to be hard for you to get through. Fencing, fighting, torture, revenge, monsters, escapes, true love, all that stuff that I think that you guys know and love about the genre. This will be so lighthearted. We'll get it there in every way. It's very much like a fairy tale. I think that you'll have a great time with it. Wesley and Inigo and Fezzik, it's just such a fun journey that I think you will really, truly love. And it's something that will touch you right here and you'll never, ever forget about it. It's a quick, light, easy read that I think anyone of any age will enjoy. Check it out.
My name is Evie. My channel is She Was Only Evie. I have been asked to provide a standalone recommendation of a fantasy book that is less than 400 pages or so. I could recommend a really wonderful novel that is beautifully written and it feels epic and intimate at the same time and grand and contained, but it is a little over 500 pages.
Evie is obviously a cheat, but for Christmas last year, she sent me The Spear Cuts Through Water by Simon Jimenez, so I'll allow it.
Instead, I will actually recommend The Stone Boatman by Sarah Tolmie. This book is actually just shy of 300 pages, and it is a book that is, I would say, more literary in nature. There's not really any magic. There is some fantastical elements to it, but it truly is just a fragmented novel about this world centering around the titular stone boatman. It is about the travels and the discovery of who created these stone boatmen, how these statues connect people, and it's just really good. Sarah Tolmie does a really wonderful job of parsing the three parts, letting them stand on their own while still weaving and kind of building off of one another to create a really wonderful story. So I would recommend this highly, and I hope you love it.
Hey Matt, Joanna here. The standalone I recommend is The Vanished Birds by Simone Jimenez. I think that Evie's going to be very proud of me for this recommendation. I don't want to say too much because I think it's best to go into this not knowing too much, but I will say that this is a very beautifully written space opera. I think there's a wonderful found family element in this story, and I think there is a theme of things coming together and being pulled apart, both on a micro level with characters, but also on a macro level, there are things happening with humanity as well. And I think you're going to really enjoy the prose. I think you'll enjoy just how beautiful the story is, and it has the element of music in it as well. So I hope you enjoy The Vanished Birds. You'll have to let me know, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts.
My name is Dan, and I have a very small YouTube channel called The Black and Blue Collar Reader, where I review adult and dark fantasy books. And Matt from Matt on Books reached out to me to suggest to you my favorite fantasy standalone book. Now let me go get him. He's over there, standing all by himself. Yo, come on. Standalones. Still antisocial, right? Hey, I'll introduce you. Come here. Here we go. Folks, this is Kings of the Wild by Nicholas Ames. And if you like D&D type fantasy quests of unlikely heroes who save a damsel in distress, and you also like the classic rock tropes of big parties, alcoholism, untimely breakups, and drummers that just can't seem to stay alive, this book is for you. We pick up with a mercenary band called Saga, and they are basically considered the rock gods of their time. However, this book has a little twist to it. They are not in their heyday. No, this is 20 years after their popularity, and they are over the hill and far away. Go get this book. It is very good. And I just want to say thank you to Matt for inviting me to join in this Simon and Garfunkel type collab. I just realized I was Garfunkel. Anyway, Matt, thanks for looking out for the Garfunkels, the BookTube. Much love. Peace.
Hello, Matt. Thank you for inviting me to tell you about one of my favorite fantasy standalones at under 400 pages, and that would be Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. It is an incredible psychological journey during which you're never quite sure if what is happening is meant to be taken literally or symbolically or just in some other way. It is a mysterious book that feels like the experience of a dream. You emerge from this feeling like you've just woken up and seen something incredible and beautiful and moving and melancholy all wrapped up into one. And you get an incredible sense of endearment toward the protagonist of the story as well. Very much one of my favorite books in the genre, standalone or otherwise, and I hope that if you have read it, you've enjoyed it, or if you will read it, that you will enjoy it.
Hey, Matt, thanks for asking me to be part of this. I, like you, also want to prioritize some nice, short, not too long sci-fi or fantasy standalones this year. Some nice palate cleansers to fit into the series that I know you and I both like to read. So I appreciate you asking me for my recommendation. I've chosen The Road by Cormac McCarthy. I just finished reading this one. This is about a guy and his son, and they're traversing a very, very destroyed and almost uninhabitable, post-apocalyptic America. And they're just on the road. It's the two of them. It's dreary and dark and depressing and excruciatingly emotional. I really like this one. You hear the term, you hear people talk about dad shit, in books that really get to you, the emotion of taking care of a child or, having a kid. This struck me as having son shit. It's really about the father and son's relationship. And I really, really enjoyed this one. This one brought a tear to my eye, and it was very unique, very poetically written. I don't know if you've tried Cormac McCarthy or not, but he is an exceptional writer. He's not for everybody. I'm very curious about what you think about this one. I just read it. I loved it. And I want to hear your opinions about this one. So this is my recommendation.
Hey Matt, thank you so much for having me on this video. So am I going to recommend a standalone? Yes. Is it also part of a series? Yes. Am I using this moment as a shameless plug to get more people to read one of my favorite fantasy series of all time? Never Die has everything. It is a standalone, self-contained story within a larger series, so if you love it, you can keep reading, but this story is one contained thing. It is Asian-inspired wuxia, martial arts, gives you, old anime vibes, but with modern fantasy feel. You've got a motley crew, you've got vengeful spirits, you have a group of characters on a quest to kill an emperor. It is so good. It has one of my favorite character arcs of all of 2022 in it. It's amazing. I love it. Please check out this series. And if you love Never Die and you do want to keep going, there are 2 other books currently in the series. But if you just want something that's a standalone that's going to scratch that Asian-inspired martial arts fantasy itch, this is the book for you.
Matt, what's going on, man? I know you asked me to do this video like a bunch of times, and I'm just now getting to it, so I apologize, but I've been in quite the bind lately. A little busy, I'll be honest. You caught me. I'm wearing the tank top. This is a tank top pick book here. I don't even have pants on right now because my life's in disarray. But you asked me if I could suggest a standalone, and I got one for you. It's going to put you in a bind, Bubba. And that is The Anubis Gates by Tim Powers. And all you need to know is that I liked it. I read it recently. Tim Powers has inspired a bunch of, come on, you know the pitch. I've kind of talked about it already. Time travel, there's a horrifying clown. We're going to England, we're going to Cairo. We're doing a lot. This book's doing a lot. And you better buckle up.
Well, hello, Matt. It's Josh here at Red Fury Books, here to give you a standalone fantasy book recommendation. Now, this is kind of part of a series, but it really isn't. It can be read as a standalone, and that's how I read it. But I have to say, I'm embarrassed for both of us because, Matt, my friend, both of us read fantasy in the 80s and 90s, and we somehow missed this book. This is a book written in 1984 that I didn't read until this January, and I'm so glad I finally read it because as soon as I read this book, I researched the author and I put everything this author's written onto my TBR. The author is David Gemmell. The book is Legend. This was fantastic. This is the work of heroic fantasy that I needed in my life that I didn't realize I needed in my life. It's the story of Druss the Legend, this old warrior who's called for one final battle. There's a city that's under siege, and he's there to try to help them win the siege, but he suspects it's going to be his final battle. It is amazing. It is the epitome of heroic fantasy. I loved it. I'm sure you will as well. I hope you really loved Legend by David Gemmell.
Hey Matt, so I have a great recommendation for you, and I think it's perfect for this type of video as well because it lends itself well to a short little video recommendation because there's honestly not much I can say about it without like spoiling all of the best parts. So I'm going to recommend to you Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. So this was in my top 3 books I read in 2021. I absolutely loved it. So I'm going to give you a couple tips about reading this book. First of all, do not Google anything about it. Just trust me. Like I mentioned just a second ago, there's not much I can say about it without kind of spoiling things. So you're just going to have to trust me that this is a science fiction book that I really think you're going to like. So it does kind of get some Armageddon vibes going. Like there's an end of the world event that is imminent. But trust me, it's so much bigger than that in ways. But what makes it great is that it's also so much smaller than that. Like it's a very intimate story, and that's what caught me by surprise and made it so special. So this is a book that will make you laugh, it will make you cry, but it also asks like really big, important questions. But more than anything, I found it to be very touching and very wholesome. And being science fiction, that's kind of what caught me off guard and made it work for me. It's really, really good, and I think you are going to appreciate it and love it. Hopefully as much as I did. So have fun, and I can't wait to hear what you think.
Matt asked me to pick my favorite smaller book under 400 pages, and I struggled with this one because I normally read huge fantasy books. But I was looking through my bookshelf at what's a smaller book, and the one that popped out at me that's exactly 400 pages is Small Gods by Terry Pratchett. This is one of Terry Pratchett's greatest works, and it happens to be a standalone. He's only written a couple of those. It's just such an amazing take on religion and fantasy with this amazing satirical look at it. It's funny from the first page to the last. It's got these really deep insights into it. It's got an amazing story. And even if you're not a Discworld fan, I find people love this book. It's my most bought book for any of my friends. If I found anybody that I know that hasn't read it, I buy it for them immediately. You should too. Small Gods is amazing.
So that's everybody. Lots of standalones that I have never read, and one that I have. Did you find new books in these recommendations? Are you looking forward to reading them? Let me know down in the comments. As always, I hope you're well. I hope you keep reading awesome science fiction and fantasy standalones, and I'll see you next time.